We continue now at the top of Daf Nun Gimel Amud Aleph and Meseches Avodah Zara. This is Avodah Zarah Daf 53a. This summit is sponsored by Rachamim Yusufab for Chaya Ayala Bat Sason. Thank you for your sponsorship. If you'd like to sponsor an Amud or a Daf, see the description box below to see how you can support this channel. On the previous summit, the Gemara was in the middle of bringing the second version of the statement of Rav Hillel Bereder Rebbe Volis. According to this second version, it's going on the Seifa of the Mishnah, the part of the Mishnah that says that a Yisrael, a Jew, is not able to be mevatel the Avodah Zara of an Oved Kochavim. And on that, Rabbi Hillel Bereder Rebbe Volis says Rabbi Hillel Bereder Rebbe Volis, Lo nitzrucha sheyesh lo ba shutfis. We're talking about a situation where there was a partnership. The Bach puts in the word Ella, Lo nitzrucha Ella sheyesh lo ba shutfis. We're talking about a situation where there's a partnership between the Jew and the Oved Kochavim in the Avodah Zara. The Kamash Malon, and it's teaching us Yisrael who to lo mevatel the Oved Kochavim, that the Yisrael is not able to be mevatel the portion that belongs to the Oved Kochavim. Aval Oved Kochavim denavshe mevatel, but the Oved Kochavim is able to be mevatel his portion of the Avodah Zara. And finally, the Gemara brings a third version of the statement of Rav Hillel Bereder Rebbe Volis. Iko demasni la brisa. There are those that learn the statement of Rav Hillel Bereder Rebbe Volis on the following brisa. Rabbi Shimon ben Menashe Omer, Rabbi Shimon ben Menashe says, Avodas Kochavim shel Yisrael, an Avodah Zara of a Jew, ein lo b'teila olamis. It has no nullification whatsoever. And the Gemara says, Mai olamis, what does that mean that forever it has no nullification? Amar Rabbi Hillel Bereder Rebbe Volis, Rabbi Hillel the son of Rabbi Volis says, Lo nitzrucha ela sheyesh lo li'oved Kochavim b'shutfis. We're talking about a situation where the Oved Kochavim has a partnership in the Avodah Zara. The Kamash Malon, and when it says over here olamis, it's teaching us the Yisrael adaite denafshe palach, that the Yisrael, he's bowing under his own understanding. That's what he's worshiping the Avodah Zara. It's not on the understanding of the Oved Kochavim, meaning to say if it was on the understanding of the Oved Kochavim, there'd be a possibility of nullification. But since he's totally doing it on his own, therefore there is no nullification whatsoever. And Rashi explains, Rabbi Hillel lo nitzrucha ela sheyesh lo liyisrael shutfis ba. Rabbi Hillel says it's needed for when the Yisrael is a partner in the Avodah Zara. V'hagufa lo itzrach lashmina. Now the statement itself, it doesn't need to teach us. The hanami pshita, that's also obvious. Sheino yachal levatel chelko shel Oved Kochavim, that the Yisrael is not able to nullify the portion of the Oved Kochavim. Shafilu shelo ein yachal levatel, he can't even nullify his own portion. Ela lemeidak mina, rather the purpose is to make the following inference. Yisrael hu de lo mevatel chelik Oved Kochavim, the Jew is not able to be mevatel the chelik of the Oved Kochavim. Aval Oved Kochavim yachal levatel chelik asma, but the Oved Kochavim is able to be mevatel his own chelik. V'lo amrina, we don't say ki heichi de chelko shel Yisrael lo batel, just like the portion of the Yisrael is not nullified. Chelik shel Oved Kochavim nami lo batel, that the chelik of the Oved Kochavim is also not nullified. Sheyesh lo Oved Kochavim bashutfis, again, the Oved Kochavim has a partnership. Afilu bitel Oved Kochavim chelko hahu de Yisrael lo batel, again, even if the Oved Kochavim is mevatel his portion, the portion of the Jew is not batel. The Kamash Malon, and it's teaching us according to the third version, Yisrael adaite denafshe polach, the Yisrael, he's worshipping on his own understanding. V'lo tali b'das Oved Kochavim, it's not based on the understanding of the Oved Kochavim, it is done independently by the Yisrael, and that's why there is no bittul. And the Gemara continues with the Mishnah, Ketzad mevatla, how does one nullify an Avodah Zara? Kata rosh azna, if he cuts the tip of its ear, rosh chotma, the tip of its nose, rosh etzba, the tip of its finger, pichsa afal pishalo chasra, let's say he crushes it even though he doesn't actually take anything away, bitla, all of that is nullification. And Rashi explains, Pechasas miacha bekornis, that's if he crushes it again with a hammer, so then we say again that's considered to be bittul. And the Mishnah continues, Rak b'faneh, let's say he spits in front of it, Hishtin b'faneh, he urinates in front of it, Geira, he drags it through the mud, Zarak bas atzoa, he throws excrement at it, Harezu eina b'teila, that is not considered to be a nullification. And finally, the Mishnah says, Mechar, if he sells it, or mashchino, or he uses it as a collateral, Rebbe Omer Bitel, Rebbe says that is a nullification. The Chachamim Omer lo Bitel, but the Chachamim say that is not a nullification. And the Gemara says, Ki lo chisra b'mai Bitel, if nothing has been taken away, so how was it nullified? And the Gemara over here is referring to the line in the Mishnah which says pachsa, that if the person crushes it, afal pishalo chisra, even though none of it is taken away, it's not broken in any manner, so then it's considered to be nullified. And again, the question is, if nothing is broken, if nothing is taken away, why is it nullified? And the Gemara says to that, Amar Rabbi Zera says, shepachasa b'faneh, he crushes the face of the Avodah Zara, the face of the idol, and therefore you're not able to recognize the image, that's considered to be nullification. And the Gemara continues, Rakak befonef, he spits before it, v'hishtin befonef, he urinates before it. The Gemara says, Minohani mili, from where do we know that this is not considered to be a nullification? And Rashi explains, Minohani mili dehadar palachla. From where do we know that an Oved Kochavim who does this would still continue to worship the Avodah Zara, as long as we know an Oved Kochavim would continue to worship after spitting, after urinating, so then we would say that it's not batal. And the Gemara says, Amar Chizkiya says, the Amar Kra, it's because the Pasuk says, this is a Pasuk in Yeshayahu, V'hoya ki yirav, it will be when he's hungry, v'eskatzif, and he'll be angry, v'kilel b'malko, he'll curse his king, uveloav, and his God, ufana l'mal, and he'll turn to above, he'll turn to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Uchsib basrei, but then it says after that, v'yel eretz yabit, that he looks to the earth, v'hinei tzara v'chashech, and behold, there's distress and darkness. And the point over here is that even though an Oved Kochavim will temporarily become angry at his Avodah Zara, but eventually he will turn back to the Avodah Zara. And so therefore, in a situation where he spits in front of it, he urinates in front of it, that is just a temporary anger against the Avodah Zara, but eventually he might return. The Afagav, the Kilel Malko Velohav, even though he's cursed his king and his idol, Ufana Lamal, and he turned to above, he turned to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, El Eretz Yabit, eventually he may look to the earth, he may look to the Avodah Zara. And Rashi explains, V'kilel b'malko, he'll curse his king, Mekalel, es avodas kochavim shalom, means he's going to curse his Avodah Zara, Mevazo, so he'll disgrace it, Ufana l'mala, he'll turn above, Libo l'mala l'shamayim, meaning he'll turn to heaven, he'll turn to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Ve'el eretz yabit, then he'll look to the earth, Chozer v'yoved, avodas kochavim shalom, means that he's going to return and worship his Avodah Zara. And the Gemara continues at the two dots. The Mishnah said, Mecharo mashchina, if he sells it or he uses it as a pledge, Rebbe Omer Bitel, Rebbe says that is a nullification, and the Chachamim say it is not a nullification. And the Gemara says, Zeiri Omer Rabbi Yochanan, Zeiri says that Rabbi Yochanan says, Rabbi Yirmiyah bar Abba Omer Rav, and Rabbi Yirmiyah bar Abba says that Rav says, meaning we have a machlokas amoraim as follows. Chad Omer, one says, machlokas b'tsoref oved kochavim. The machlokas over here in the Mishnah is, let's say you sell it to a smith, to a smelter, who is an Oved Kochavim. Aval b'tsoref Yisrael, but let's say you would sell it to a Jew, so Divrei HaKol Bitel, then everybody agrees that if the Oved Kochavim would sell the idol to a Jew, that is certainly a nullification. That's one opinion in the Amoraim. The Chad Omer, and the other one says, b'tsoref Yisrael machlokas, that actually it's a machlokas when you sell it to a smelter who is a Jew. And the Gemara continues and asks, Iboilu, they had the following question, on the second opinion of B'tsoref Yisrael Machlokas, is it B'tsoref Yisrael Machlokas, is it that they're arguing, meaning Rebbe and the Chachamim are arguing by a Tsoref Yisrael, Avot Tsoref Oved Kochavim Divrei HaKol Lo Bitel, but if it would be a Tsoref Oved Kochavim, everybody agrees that is not a nullification, because he's just giving it to another Oved Avodah Zara, therefore he hasn't nullified it. Oh, Dilmar, maybe Bein Bazel, Vein Bazel Machlokas, according to that second opinion in the Amoraim, that there's a Machlokas by Tsoref Yisrael, it means there's also a machlokas by Tzoref Yisrael, but there's a machlokas by a Tzoref Oved Kochavim as well. And the Gemara continues, Tashma, come in here the following proof. The Yomar Rebbe, because Rebbe said, Nirin devarai keshemochra lechavla, it appears that I am correct in a situation where the person sold it, that it's going to eventually be destroyed. V'divrei chaverai, and it appears that my colleagues are correct, shemochara lo ovda, if he sold it, that it would be worshipped. And the Gemara wants to clarify what exactly did Rebbe mean by that. Again, Rebbe is the one that says that in a case where he sold it, that is a nullification, and the Chachamim say it's not a nullification. And Rebbe is saying it appears that I am correct that it is a nullification if it's being sold to be destroyed, but it appears that they are correct if it's being sold to be worshipped. And the Gemara says, well, what exactly, first of all, does it mean that it's sold to being destroyed or it's sold to being worshipped? If to destroy means literally it's going to be destroyed, and liovda lovda mamish, and to be served means literally it's going to be served, so then my time of demand damar bitul and my time of demand damar lo bitul, why would one of them say it is nullified? Why would one of them say it's not nullified? Meaning to say it should be obvious. There should be no machlokas. In a situation where it's going to be destroyed, obviously that is nullification. If it's going to be worshipped, obviously that is not nullification. So elalav, rather is it not? What Rebbe must mean is as follows. Lechavla means lemisha asad lechavla. Lechavla just means it's being sold to someone who in the future will likely destroy it. Umanu, and who is that? Tzoref Yisrael. That would be a Jew who is the smelter. It's being sold to a Jew. It's probably not going to be used as Avodah Zara. And la'ovda, if it's being sold to be worshipped, that means l'misha asid la'ovda. That means somebody who in the future will likely worship it. Umanu, and who is that? Soref Ovid Kochavim. That would refer to an Ovid Kochavim, a smith. That is an Ovid Kochavim. And so Rebbe is saying, essentially, it appears that I am correct. It would make sense to say that I am correct, that it is a nullification if it is sold to a Jew. And it appears that the Chachamim are correct, that it's not a nullification if it is sold to a non-Jew. And from Rebbe phrasing it in that fashion, so Shmami, no, we see from there, Bein Bazeh, Bein Bazeh Machlokas, that they're arguing in all situations. Meaning to say they're arguing both when it's being sold to a non-Jew and to a Jew. And Rebbe is just saying it appears that I am correct in the case of a Jew. It appears that they are correct in the case of a non-Jew, but we really argue in both situations. And the Gemara continues and says, Lo, no, it's not necessarily a proof from the statement of Rebbe, because Hachi Kamar, because it could be what's being said by Rebbe is as follows. Amar Rebbe says, Nirin Devarai Lechaverai. My opinion is correct to my colleagues, Kishamachar Lechavla, in a situation when it's sold to be destroyed. Umanu, and who would that be? It's Soref Yisrael, that's a smelter who is a Yisrael, who is a Jew, meaning to say, Sha'af Chaverai, what Rebbe was saying was, even my colleagues, the Chachamim, Lo Nechliku Alai, they only argued with me, the only when it's sold to be worshipped, that's when we have the machlokas. But in a situation of lechavla, in a situation where it's going to be destroyed, there they would admit to me. And if you interpret Rebbe in that fashion, so then it would come out that they're not arguing in both scenarios. Rather, Rebbe is saying that they only argue in a situation where it's being sold to a non-Jew. And the Gemara continues, Meisvei, we have a question from the following Braisa, Halokach, Grutos, Menovde Kochavim. If somebody buys broken vessels, broken silver from idol worshippers, Umatza Behen Avodas Kochavim, and he finds among them that they're idols, Imad Shelo Nosan Mos Moshach, if he hasn't yet given the money, but he made the kinyan, he did the Mashicha, so Yachzir, so then he can return it, he can go back on that transaction. And the idea is that it's a Mekach so it was a mistaken purchase. He didn't know that he was going to be buying any idols. But if he already gave the money and he did the kinyan Mashicha, so Yolech liyam hamelech, then he's not able to go back and he has to throw it into the Yam HaMelech, the Dead Sea, meaning he cannot get any benefit from those idols. And the Gemara says, Yamrid b'shlama b'tsoref Yisrael machlokas. So if you're going to say that the machlokas is, let's say the Ovid Kochavim sells the idol to a tsoref Yisrael, he sells it to a Jewish smith, and the question is whether it's nullified or not. So in this brisa, clearly we're saying that it is not nullified. We're saying Yolech liyam hamelech. So Hamani Rabbanan, so this will follow the opinion of the Rabbanan that say that selling it to the tsoref Yisrael is not necessarily a bittul, it's not necessarily a nullification. But if you're going to say that the machlokas is if he sells it to another Ovid Kochavim, then there's a machlokas if it's bottle or not. But if he sells it to a Tzoref Yisrael, he sells it to a Jew, Divrei HaKol Bittul, that everybody agrees it's nullified. So then Hamani, so who's the author of this brisa? Why is it Yolech Liyam HaMelech? The Avoda Zara should be nullified because it was sold to a Jewish person, and therefore he should be able to use it. And the Gemara says to that, no, Shani Hasam, it's different over there. The Adaita de Gruto Zavin, Adaita de Avodas Kochavim Lo Zavin, that actually, it's not only the buyer over there, the seller also. He was thinking that he was selling broken vessels. He wasn't thinking that he was selling Avodas Kochavim. If he had no idea he was selling Avodas Kochavim, he obviously was not mevatel. He didn't nullify that Avodas Kochavim. He didn't nullify that Avodah Zara, and that's why, in this particular case, it is not nullified. And we will take a look at Rashi. Rashi explains, Im mishanasan mos mashach yolech. If he's already given money, so then he has to just be yolech the hanoah liyam hamelech. He has to throw it to the Dead Sea. He can't get any benefit from the Avodah Zara. Ve'in rashai la'achzira la'ovid kochavim v'litel ma'osav. He's not able to return it to the non-Jew and get back his money. And Rashi notes, V'avagav de meshicha betos havai. Now, even though this case also, it's all a meshicha betos, he did this by mistake, it should be like a mekach tos, why not be able to go back? But kevan de yoav demei, since he already gave the money, so if he gave the money and now he's going to take the money back, so it looks like he's selling it back. That already looks like he's selling the Avodah Zara. That's why we don't allow that. And again, the point was, Alma, we see Afagav de Zav and Ovid Kochavim Yisrael, even though the Ovid Kochavim sold it to the Jew, Katane Asur, it says it's forbidden to lo batla, that it's not nullified. And again, the Gemara then answered that when it was being sold, he wasn't selling it with the understanding that he was selling Avodah Zara. That's why it's not batal. And the Gemara continues, Tanu Rabbanan, the rabbis taught, Lova Olel, let's say he borrows upon it on the Avodah Zara, meaning again, he uses the Avodah Zara as a collateral. Oshanafla Lem Apolis, or let's say a bunch of stones fall on top of it, and they're burying the Avodah Zara. Osha ganvu listim, or let's say there are robbers that steal it. Osha nichua b'habailim v'holchu l'medinas hayam, or let's say the owners leave it and they travel far away overseas. Rashi explains, Lova aleh ovet kochavim, the ovet kochavim borrows on the Avodah Zara. Afilu mitzoref Yisrael, even if we're talking about from a Yisrael. Osha nafla aleh mapolis, or let's say a mapolis falls upon it, a bunch of stones fall, ve'eno chash lefnosa, he doesn't even care to try to clear it, to try to get it back. Osha ganvu listim, or let's say it's stolen, ve'eno mechazer achareh, again, he's not pursuing the Avodah Zara, essentially he's given up on it, and we will continue with this discussion in the next video on Daf Nun Gimel Amid Beis.